Hello, I'm Mimi. I'm a full-time digital artist and content creator, and I get asked on literally every single video about what software and gear I use. So I thought I'd take you on a tour of everything that I use to make digital art, both for fun and for professional projects, what I use to make videos and content, and then I'll share some tips for some budget-friendly tools if you're just getting started. This video is not sponsored, these are just all of the tools that I use and really enjoy, and you can find the links to everything on my website and in the description. So let's start with what I use as a digital artist. For most of my art, I use Adobe Photoshop as my software of choice, and that's partly because before I was an artist, I was a graphic designer, so when I was transitioning from design to art, Photoshop was just the software that I had available to me at the time. It's a really powerful program and there's so much you can do with it, so I love it for the flexibility. It's less intuitive than programs that have been specifically designed with digital art in mind, like Procreate or Adobe Fresco, but once you get over the initial learning hurdle, there's really not much that it can't do. I've illustrated all of my picture books in Photoshop because it's easy to add guides and markings, and as far as I know, there's no set limit to the amount of layers you can have in a project like there is with Procreate. Photoshop's an industry standard program, and although I know that people do illustrate picture books in other software, I like to use it because it's the program that I work fastest in, and I know that my publishers won't have any issues with my files. I run it on a Microsoft Surface Book 3, which is a 2-in-1 laptop, so the screen can detach completely to act just as a tablet, or you can use the whole thing as a regular laptop. I don't often use it fully detached, I mostly just detach it so I can flip it around and reattach it the other way around. That way I have a large drawing tablet with all of the power of the laptop. I use the Microsoft pen with it, and I really like this pen, partly because it has this nice soft rubber tip on the end, and I've actually had this particular pen for several years now, so it's actually starting to have the color worn off from me constantly using it for so long. Now, the Surface Book 3 definitely isn't cheap. I reinvested the money I was earning from picture books to buy this one, but I do use it for literally everything in my business, and it means that I can work remotely, which is really important to me. I used to have the Surface Book 2, which is the older model but really similar. I saved up for that one before I even started illustrating when I was a graphic designer, so that I could do both design work on it and also a bit of drawing, because I knew I really wanted to learn digital art and thought that way I wouldn't need to buy a separate tablet. So then I have a really cute Logitech K380 keyboard and Pebble mouse to use with my laptop. They're both wireless, so they just connect via Bluetooth. They're smaller than a regular keyboard and mouse, but they're just the right size for me, and I like that they come in different colors so you don't just have to have a grey or white keyboard. Having a separate keyboard is really important with my current setup because I need to be able to use the keyboard shortcuts when I use Photoshop, so I just have it sitting next to my screen when my laptop is in tablet mode. To get my laptop at the right angle, I have a couple of different stands for my laptop for when I'm working. I have a chunkier one that I got from Amazon quite a while ago that's really good for drawing because I can adjust the height and the angle. And then I have a second one that I take traveling because it packs away really small, but it doesn't have any height adjustment, just an angle adjustment. Now, because a lot of you use Procreate, I also bought an iPad Air 4th Gen a couple of years ago so that I could learn to use it. That way, when I make tutorials or brush packs, I can make them for both Photoshop and for Procreate, so the iPad was really just a business purchase. I do really like Procreate for how intuitive and beginner-friendly it is, so it's a really great program. Plus, it's just so convenient to be able to take an iPad pretty much anywhere for drawing. So I swap between Procreate and Photoshop depending on where I am and how I want to draw, but I definitely say that I still mostly use Photoshop because I feel like I work so much faster in it. That's partly because I can use keyboard shortcuts in Photoshop, so rather than tapping around the screen a lot like I do in Procreate, I can be changing tools with my left hand on the keyboard while I'm drawing with my right hand, and my personal workflow is just faster that way. I would really like to do a comparison of a few of the drawing programs, maybe in a separate video, because I've been wanting to try out Clip Studio Paint and maybe Krita as well. So maybe I'll try those and then I'll give you a breakdown of my experience with Procreate, Photoshop, Clip Studio, and any other programs that you think are useful. So that's everything I use for digital art. Sometimes I enjoy drawing in my sketchbook too, but I have pretty simple supplies for that. I have an A4 moleskin sketchbook that was a Christmas present a while ago, and a square Artica sketchbook that was gifted to me last year, and they're both really good books. I'm using Prismacolor pencils and they're nice to use, but I haven't really tried many alternatives, to be honest. I do have a larger set than this, but when I travel, I take the smaller set and just make do with the colors that I have. And then I have this cute ladybug sharpener that I got from Amazon. Now let's take a look at the gear I use for making content. First, I have my phone, which is a Google Pixel 6 Pro. I got it maybe 2 years ago now, and I use it quite a lot for filming content and just taking photos. I'm all about minimal fuss. I don't really like setting up lights and big cameras. I'd rather just take the stress-free route and film things really simply, so having a phone with a decent camera is really useful. We do also have a full camera that we use for filming higher quality footage, especially if we do something like a class for Skillshare. We'll definitely film it on this camera, which is a Sony a7 III. It actually belongs to my partner Dan, but he does a lot of the filming and editing for this YouTube channel, so we use it for my content too. He also has a nice Manfrotto tripod, but we don't take it traveling with us because it's way too big for our backpacks. So when we do travel, we just end up using ironing boards or anything we can find lying around the house that we're staying in at the time. For when I need to record my screen directly, Dan has this Atomos Ninja external screen recorder, which just plugs into my laptop and acts as a second monitor that I can record from. I use this a lot for video tutorials, especially for Patreon. I could use a screen recording software, but if I'm also using Photoshop at the same time, then my laptop gets a bit slow and quite hot, so that's why I use the external monitor to record my screen for those tutorials. So once we've done all the filming we need, I record a voiceover and we have 2 microphones for that. We started with a Rode desktop mic and it's really good, but it was quite bulky for traveling, so we got the much smaller Rode shotgun mic for when we're living out of suitcases. They're both good microphones. We almost exclusively use them just for voiceovers because we don't record a lot of sound while we're filming, so they've been really great for what we need. Then when it comes time to edit, Dan uses Adobe Premiere Pro. He was a video editor long before I started this YouTube channel, and it's always been his editing program of choice, so he still uses that for all of my content. If we want to add any animations or motion graphics, he'll make those in Adobe After Effects and bring them into Premiere Pro. Then we need music for our videos, so we use Epidemic Sound, who are really awesome and have a great library of music for content creators. They have loads to choose from, and they have categories for different types of content, which makes things really nice and simple. And you can actually see the exact songs that we use in my Epidemic Sound playlist in the description if you want to use the same music that I do for your own content. So once Dan has edited together a YouTube video, I upload it with the help of TubeBuddy, which is a software that integrates with YouTube and helps you write titles and descriptions that are optimized so they're more likely to be found. I'll still write a title that I want, but it helps me swap out keywords that might perform better than others. Another tech thing that I love is my Bose headphones. I don't need them for content necessarily, but they're noise cancelling, so they really help me focus when I'm drawing or writing a script or just trying to get in the zone. I've never had noise cancelling headphones before, and honestly, with the amount of productivity they've saved me, they have definitely paid for themselves. So that's all the gear that I currently use now that I'm nearly 4 years into my art and content business. But what if you're just starting out, you're on a budget, and you want to get started with digital art or content creating? Even when I was learning to be a digital artist, I actually started drawing with pencils in a sketchbook and did that for a few months before I started transitioning to digital art so that I could practice my skills in a really low pressure way and build some confidence. So the simplest and most affordable way to start could be with just pencils and paper and just drawing as much as you can to start developing your style and getting into the habit of creating art. If you already have an iPad, you could download Procreate. As of right now, it's about $13 just as a one-off fee, so it's really quite affordable for such a popular drawing program. The only real catch is that you need to have an iPad first, and they aren't cheap, and the more powerful your iPad is, the smoother things will run. If you have an Android tablet, you won't be able to install Procreate as far as I know, but you could try Adobe Fresco, which is free to use on a starter plan, so you don't need to pay while you test out the basic features, but then you do have to pay about $10 a month if you want to upgrade to the premium version. If you have a laptop or a desktop computer, you have a few drawing software options. Photoshop is quite expensive, so for a budget-friendly option, you can try Clip Studio Paint, which costs about $50 at the moment, and I'm pretty sure it's a one-off fee, or even Krita, which is totally free. You'll want something to draw on though, because drawing with a mouse is a nightmare unless you have vector paths, so you'll probably need a little tablet to plug into your computer. I used to have the little Wacom Intuos a few years ago that was given to me as a birthday present, and it's one of the more affordable tablet options. I'm pretty sure you can get them for under $100. They are basic though, and you aren't drawing onto a screen, you're basically drawing on a big trackpad, so if you can afford it, you might enjoy a display tablet with a screen better, because personally at least, I find them way more intuitive to draw on. If you don't have an iPad or a computer, then you can get drawing apps for your smartphone. It might be a bit fiddly on such a small screen, but you could plug in one of the drawing tablets we just talked about to have more control. And if you want to make content about all of this lovely art you're creating, then you don't need anything fancy. Most phones these days have really decent cameras that you can use. Just put yourself in a spot with nice natural light but not direct sun, and that'll help your footage look great. There are lots of different video editing software options out there. Again, Adobe Premiere Pro is quite expensive, but DaVinci Resolve has a free version and Final Cut Pro has a free trial if you need those heavier programs for your video editing. Also, your phone probably comes with some inbuilt editing features if you're mostly editing short form content, and there are always small apps you can get if you're just doing a little bit of video editing on your phone. So don't wait until you have the perfect gear. Start with whatever you can get your hands on, even if it is just pencils and paper for now, and work your way up from there. Keep in mind too that I've been growing my art and content business for nearly 4 years now, so I've bought all these tools slowly as my business has grown. You can find the names and links for everything I talked about in this video in my description, so go and check that out, and let us know in the comments what tools you love as an artist that you can recommend for us. Thanks so much for watching this video. Consider giving it a like and subscribing if you haven't already for more art and small business videos. And if you'd like access to my art tutorial videos, then you can access my library of art lessons instantly by joining the 3rd tier of my Patreon today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!